I guess if I weren't a professional golfer, I could be a lawyer. Everyone tells me I love to argue, and that's probably true.
He did it again at the 72nd hole.
He was standing toe-to-toe with Bryson DeChambeau in one of the most electric playoffs in PGA Tour history. Every shot felt like a final exam. The crowd was roaring. The cameras were fixed on him. Most players would crack under that kind of pressure. But Patrick Cantlay didn't flinch. He hardly even blinked. Shot after shot, he looked like a man carved out of ice. That night at the BMW Championship in 2021, fans gave him a new name, Patty Ice. What they didn't know is that behind that icy calm was a story filled with tragedy, resilience, and a level of mental toughness that almost defies belief. To understand how a quiet genius from Long Beach became golf's silent assassin, we need to go back, way back, to where it all began. Patrick Cantlay was born in 1992 in Long Beach, California, into a family that treated golf not just as a game, but as part of their DNA. His siblings, Caroline, Nick, and Jack, all picked up golf clubs as kids. Patrick himself was barely 3 years old when he started swinging. For most children, that would just be playful mimicry. But for Cantlay, it was the start of something extraordinary. He grew up in an environment where golf was everywhere. But what's interesting is that it wasn't about pressure. His parents didn't push. Instead, they created opportunities. It was a culture of encouragement, not expectation. By the time Patrick was in grade school, it was clear he wasn't just another kid tagging along at the course. He had the kind of focus and precision you don't usually see until adulthood. And while other kids were outgrowing hobbies, Cantlay was steadily turning golf into his second nature. And it didn't take long before that quiet determination started turning heads. Patrick's rise through junior golf was nothing short of formidable. He became known as a steady competitor who always seemed to make the right decision under pressure. That reputation followed him to UCLA, where his career exploded. In just his freshman year, Cantlay swept nearly every award imaginable. He won the Haskins Award as the nation's best collegiate golfer, the Jack Nicklaus Award, the Phil Mickelson Award for Freshman of the Year, and was honored as both Pac-10 Freshman and Player of the Year. It was one of the most decorated starts any college golfer had ever had. And that was only part of it. Cantlay didn't just excel in college. He shined on the biggest amateur stages in the world. At the 2011 US Open, still an amateur, he finished as the low amateur in the field. Just weeks later, he shot a course record 60 at the Travelers Championship, again, as an amateur. These weren't flashes of luck. They were signs that Cantlay wasn't just good for his age, he was ready for the pros. For 55 consecutive weeks, Cantlay held the World Amateur Golf Ranking #1 spot. That's the longest reign anyone had achieved at the time. He wasn't just the best amateur of his era, he was rewriting what dominance at that level looked like. And so, rather than stay at UCLA and stack up more trophies, Patrick made a bold decision. He cut his college career short after just 2 years. He was ready for the next step. In June 2012, Cantlay turned professional. Almost immediately, he was seen as one of the most promising young players in the world. By 2013, he had already picked up his first professional win on the Web.com Tour at the Columbia Championship. The trajectory seemed set. Patrick Cantlay was going to be a PGA Tour superstar. But then, just as quickly as his rise accelerated, everything fell apart. Cantlay's body betrayed him. He began suffering from a stress fracture in his back, the kind of injury that can end a golfer's career before it ever truly begins. From 2013 to 2016, he played in only a handful of events, spending more time in rehab than on golf courses. But the physical pain was nothing compared to the emotional devastation that came next. In February 2016, Cantlay was walking down the street with his childhood best friend and caddy, Chris Roth, when a speeding car struck Roth in a hit-and-run accident. Roth died instantly. Cantlay was there. He was the one who called 911. It was the kind of tragedy that would shatter anyone. Coupled with his lingering injury, many assumed his career was effectively over. But Cantlay had one constant: his longtime coach, Jamie Mulligan. Mulligan had guided Patrick since his youth, and in those dark years, he became more than a coach. He became sort of a father figure. He helped Cantlay rebuild his game, step by step, not rushing the process, but teaching him how to play again, how to move again, and perhaps most importantly, how to keep believing. Cantlay later admitted that the tragedy put everything in perspective. What once felt important in golf suddenly became irrelevant compared to the loss. He often says he thinks of Roth on the course, carrying his memory with him. Finally, in 2017, Patrick Cantlay returned to full-time competition on the PGA Tour. The comeback was cautious at first, but in November, everything changed. At the Shriners Hospitals for Children Open in Las Vegas, Cantlay held his nerve through a playoff to claim his first PGA Tour win. For him, it wasn't just a trophy, it was proof that the years of pain and doubt hadn't been wasted. Proof that he could still stand among the best in the world. And while the golf world celebrated his resilience, Cantlay himself stayed true to his character, calm, composed, and quiet. But his true breakthrough, the one that would turn him into the silent assassin, Abby, was still ahead. The BMW Championship in 2021 would change everything. Patrick Cantlay and Bryson DeChambeau went head-to-head in a playoff for the ages. Both fired identical 66-second in final round regulation. Instead of ending there, it became a battle of wills that dragged on for 6 sudden death holes. DeChambeau bombed drives, played to the crowd, and showed his emotions, while Cantlay stayed stoic, barely letting his expression change. When Cantlay finally drained the winning putt, the golf world took notice. Fans and commentators had a new nickname for him, Patty Ice. And he wasn't done. Cantlay went on to win the Tour Championship, securing the 2021 FedEx Cup and being named PGA Tour Player of the Year. In just one season, he had gone from a talented player rebuilding his career to the man who had earned the reputation of golf's silent assassin. And with multiple PGA Tour wins since 2021, including a Zurich Classic victory alongside Xander Schauffele and a steady presence on Ryder Cup and President's Cup teams, Cantlay has only solidified his place among golf's elite. If you watch Patrick Cantlay play, you notice something immediately. He's deliberate, methodical, even slow, according to some critics. But there's no doubt about his results. In a sport where personalities can sometimes overshadow performance, Cantlay has carved out a different kind of identity, one built on silence, precision, and results. He has proven that greatness doesn't always shout. Sometimes it speaks softly and still dominates.